Hello again. This episode is part 2 of a conversation with old friend Ted Onulak. A man of many talents, Ted is an accomplished saxophonist, vocalist, songwriter, blues harpist, and band leader. His band, Exit 10, can be seen in Washington, D.C. on Monday nights at a venue called Madam's Organ in Adams Morgan. We'll hear more bootleg clips from the night before our talk. This episode is a continuation of that conversation, recorded the next day. If you haven't heard part 1 of this interview, I encourage you to do so. In this episode, we'll talk about performing and playing live. Then Ted will detail how he conceived, wrote, produced, and recorded his song Threnody. We'll end on a philosophical note with a bit of a sonnet Ted wrote. Just a heads up. I know I didn't say anything in the previous episode, but this episode contains explicit language, and we may possibly discuss some adult situations, so be forewarned. We'll pick up our conversation where Ted tells us how he came to play the saxophone.
No, but so I was teaching myself. And, kind of was starting to put it together.
Yeah.
And, and I think I have some innate musical ability. I played keyboards before, I sang, I knew music, all right.
Yeah.
But when I started really getting into the sax, it was like, I always tell people I was a musician looking for an instrument.
Oh, that's so interesting.
The tenor sax was just like...
And it just found you.
It just did like that.
Well, the tenor sax, you are the tenor sax.
I know.
That's such an appropriate instrument. That's a clip from my bootleg recording of Ted and Exit 10 from the night before our conversation. In addition to Ted, Exit 10 consists of Jimmy Jones on drums, Charles Solomon on bass, Johnny Vengrowski on electric guitar, and of course, Marcus Esposito on keyboards. Let's listen to Ted talk about musicians and their instruments and playing during the pandemic.
See how loyal I am. Music first and
Yes,
foremost.
yes.
You got to get it's the instrument. The instrument is a sacred freaking thing.
Yeah.
It's like your best friend in life. I think. Not to say that I don't value human people.
No. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
But it's sort of like there's just sort of a bond you have. There's just sort of like a mystic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you last night. You kept trying to give yours money.
Feeding it money. I know.
You were cleaning your pads.
Yeah, no, that's like the worst thing in summertime in D.C. when you're
humidity.
playing out. Oh God, your pads get all gummy and sticky, and then I'm like trying to do like a run or a passage or an arpeggio, and it sticks, and you go, fuck.
Yeah.
They make. You say, well, it was a really avant-garde choice of notes, but you're like, oh, my pad's stuck.
Yeah.
So, I think that was one of the toughest things for me during the pandemic was that, I didn't have any musicians to play with.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, and then I went on a recording session with, you met my friend Mike Custer, I think, was at the gig last night too.
Yeah.
And he called me up to do some studio stuff, and I went and played with them for like about 4 or 5 hours on their originals. They've been just sitting there writing pandemic songs.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And it was like, it's like being a foreigner, then you go back to your own country where everybody speaks your language,
right.
And you go, they know what I mean.
It's easier to speak. You can just say what you think, and they know exactly,
Yeah, and also in the musical sense too. You're just able to be with a bunch of musicians and communicate and, play stuff and hear things. It's truly amazing. As a musician, as a very fine musician yourself,
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I'm always blown away by those little things you play between the segments of your podcast.
You like this?
Yeah, man, I told you that. I said,
Yeah.
I didn't know you could plays like that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, dude, on the computer, I can't play like that live.
Yeah.
Just be modest.
Some I can.
I know you can.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
the
depends.
jazz chords.
I mean, all of anything that's on the guitar, I play.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
all the jazz stuff.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all Bittner, you know.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say.
You know, that's all right out of the school of Bittner.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, Lazy Love, right out of the school of Bittner.
Absolutely.
You know, What We Make It, right out of the school of Bittner. Yeah.
That's a great song. I always love that song. It's
That's the intro to my song, What We Make It, recorded with Ted back in 1982 at Bias Studios in Springfield, Virginia. Again, Ted is able to connect and communicate the feeling and mode of the song. Now, let's rejoin the conversation as we discuss musical creativity. You really breathe a lot when you play a wind instrument.
You do.
It's all about breath.
It is.
You know, breathing and embouchure.
And power to get that big rock and roll sound. I always tell people, I got to push off the floor with the balls of my feet.
Yeah.
So like today, like my body is aching. Just from all that muscle tension and diaphragmatic tension.
Keeps you in shape though.
Well,
I mean, people don't. No, I mean, you know what I mean. You're in good. You know.
I'm a very physically strong human being.
Yeah. You know, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Singing does that too.
It does. Yeah.
It depends on how you sing, of course, but you know.
There's so many ways to sing too. That's the really interesting thing. Is like
that's true.
When I really this band, well, on the blues band at Juke Joint Jokers, I became the lead singer because our guitar player and his wife had formed the band, and she was like the female singer, and she had a good voice and stuff. She was aight, but they divorced, and like we still had all these gigs on the books. So, and I had kind of sung a song. Song or three just to give the lead singer a little space, like Jimmy does for me.
Yeah.
So I started becoming the lead singer in that band.
Yeah.
And I really actually enjoyed it. I love singing,
Yeah.
I wrote in one of my posts that when we're talking about the Ukrainian war, it says, you see Ukrainians sing all the time.
Yeah.
They're always singing the bomb shelters, they're singing here, they're singing there, it's a very song culture. Like our history is like, it is written in song.
Yeah.
All the old ballads and tone poems and things, Singing kind of came naturally to me, in a sense.
Yeah.
I never thought of myself as that guy who was a singer.
That's funny. It's funny you say it because in the South, everybody sings. I mean, everybody goes to church and everybody sings
of course.
in church.
Yeah.
Right? That's where everybody starts. I mean, if you ask, almost anybody from the South, where did you start? They said, I started singing in church.
Yeah. Well, when me and Jimmy, we sing "Take Me to the River."
Yeah.
Which is like funny because the verses are very secular and very weird.
Yes.
And then you go to "Take Me to the River, Drop Me in the Water," which is baptism, thing. And then during our outro on the chorus, me and Jimmy, we shift and we just start singing a couple choruses of "Wade in the Water." Just for fun. It just fits
I heard that last night. Yeah, I heard that last night.
I think I did it spontaneously one night, Jimmy picked it up, and then we kind of like, I don't know, it sounds like fun. But we never rehearse any vocals. Isn't that a funny thing about bands?
Yeah, they don't rehearse vocals.
Yeah, it's like the last thing to be thought of.
I mean, it's like I always want to do harmonies, and nobody can do harmonies,
That's a gift in itself.
I hooked up in this one band just because I could do harmonies.
Oh, wow.
So I met this guy who did a solo gig, and he picked up a percussionist, and it was me, the percussionist, and this guy, and solely on being able to sing all the harmonies, all the songs that he had. He and I'm just like singing, you know what I mean? It's like I'm just like, we're doing Sounds of Silence, and I'm doing the Art Garfunkel part.
Oh, nice.
And as long as I'm not thinking about how high I'm singing, I can sing pretty high.
Yeah.
But as soon as I start thinking about it, I can't do it.
I can't attempt any high notes today because my voice is shot. But I can go high. I'm about 2.5 octave range.
But he said to me, we were just like doing song after song after song after song. He's like, do you realize how rare this is? And I was like, no, I don't.
That's why I love like a cappella singing groups.
Yeah.
Like Lady Smith, like Mombasa, like incredible.
Oh, there's so many good ones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and what's its name? Even the
Pentatonics?
The Drift. Yeah, what's that band that was the Persuasions?
Oh, yeah.
When you got 1 day for praying and 6 for fun, the odds against going to heaven are 6 to 1.
That's great.
That's great. Yeah, I like the Persuasions, and I always love to go to like a cappella things. And I'm a child. I guess I was born in '55.
Yeah.
So that was the music we all heard. We all heard that street corner, like doo-wop and stuff, and that just chock full of freaking harmonies. And then you got the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And then,
but in a rock band, it's not going to happen.
You just wail. You just go out there.
Yeah. It's like now I'm going to sing this and you sing that, and the next time you do it, they're just singing whatever you're singing. It's like they're fine singing whatever you sing it.
It's freaking caterwauling.
Yeah.
That's basically the name.
But if it's caterwauling in harmony, it can be pretty cool.
It can be cool, yeah. But then again, very rarely do people think of that. Everybody, the bands that I've basically come across, they just kind of sing in unison.
Yeah,
but it's not unison because everybody's off somewhere. It's like,
That's so true. That's so true. And after a while, it's just like, okay, that's fine. Just do what you do.
And it's just the odd thing. Because I think truly the essence of music is the voice. It's the essence of music. You get, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's music. That's music already.
Rhythm and voice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they say that all instruments attempt to imitate the voice.
Exactly.
Except for rhythm instruments, which are, keeping the time.
But.
Yeah.
I had a buddy in Jersey who was taking percussion lessons from Barry Altschul, the guy who was the percussionist for like a lot of the early Chicoria bands in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And his assignments were, he would say, here, take this recording of Body and Soul by Coleman Hawkins and play the drums. Not play the drums to it, but play the melody on the drums.
Oh, yeah.
And if you listen to jazz musicians, like Tony Williams, like he's completely melodic.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a saxophone player.
But you look at his kit. He's got like 4 drums.
Yeah.
It's like, how does he do that?
I know, it's amazing.
He's like hitting the drums in different. It's like a steel drum almost. Come
on!
Hey, I'm not saying that Jimmy Jones is Tony Williams, but Jimmy played this tight, sweet, funky drum solo on my bootleg recording of Exit 10. Okay, let's get back to our conversation as Ted tells us how the song Threnody came about. By the way, if you don't know what a Threnody is, don't feel bad. I had to look it up. A Threnody is a song of lamentation for the dead. And on that cheery note, we return to our TED Talk.
I know. So we tried it. We wanted. That was the one and only time we played it live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and it was a hard tune to repeat live because there's so much psychedelia going on there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that song too was like half my band wanted me to play soprano sax on it because you're not going to play. I didn't play on it. That was just only vocals. I let the other band play.
Yeah.
So half of my band wanted me to play soprano, and the other half wanted me to play harmonica. And I was thinking about it. I says, if I play harmonica, it's going to throw it too much into the bluesy range.
Yeah.
And if I play soprano, it's really going to turn out to be like
a jazz tune,
a bitches brew kind of thing. And I said, just leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
And then, I'd done my initial vocal pass.
Yeah.
And then I was pretty proud of it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I played it for my wife. She said, that's really, your voice is like wrong. It's like too growly and too rough. I was like, why don't you just sing? I know you can sing like nicer than that. And I was really hurt because I worked on that all afternoon.
Yeah,
I was like, God damn. And then my initial reaction was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I sat with it and listened to it, because it was probably like, maybe, I don't know, listened to it once in playback in the studio. And I said, that sounds all right. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Then when I listened to it at home, I said, I see your point.
Yeah.
I always think of the universality of music. It's like in human culture, you can play a sad song for people in New Guinea, and they know it's a sad song.
Yeah, right.
And you can play like
a happy
song, and they know it's a happy song.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems so obvious, but is that really obvious? It's something in our DNA. It's something that we
all used to sing. We all used to make music. Everybody used to do that. It's sad. It saddens me. This recording of Threnody is included on Exit 10's album Demimonde and features John Eggers on acoustic guitar, Marcus Esposito on keyboards and electric guitar, Arch Alcantara on electric guitar, Scott McKnight on bass and banjo, Jimmy Jones on drums, and of course, Ted Onulak on vocals. Let's listen.
Crucible of silence, I heard my own thoughts drowned. My life was like an aeroplane flying upside down as I sailed over broken furniture and humbly looked about. A hole inside my heaving chest had become a crimson spout. She held on to the smoking gun and like a knowing teacher grinned. She said, I cannot forgive you since I have never sinned. One notion fell on another like a temple of golden bricks. They seemed to be saying something till they fell down just for kicks. I had seen my last sunset through no fault of my own. I was turning back the pages of the sweet life I had known. The room was getting darker and time began to thin. I mumbled, I cannot forgive you since I have never sinned. In a tender voice she whispered, baby, stay right there. I was listening to some shining strings and wasn't going anywhere. She went to find a doctor, but stopped for cigarettes. Love was on her restless mind, mixing platitudes with regrets. Somewhere a radio was weeping, carried by the wind, singing, I cannot forgive you, since I have never sinned. She found a doctor in a coma with no helping hand to give. He had tried to take his own life so that others might yet live. She shouted to the nicotine ceiling and beat up on his chest, but no shrieking first nor woman's tears could revive him from his rest. She never even noticed that on his chest a note was pinned. It said, I cannot forgive you, since I have never sinned. She found a morphine needle in a black bag by the bed. Her mind lurched from a silent prayer that rattled in her head. She kissed that ice-cold needle, jammed it in her arm. There was nothing left but to get high, even to her little harm. The poison overtook her where once a heart had been, saying, I cannot forgive you, since I have never sinned. So it all had come to nothing, since no one took the blame. Just a few dry wooden lives that checked out in smoke and flame. The law and local newsmen would try to think it through, but after 24 sleepless hours, there was nothing left to do. If I could change the story and once again begin, I know I could forgive you, 'cause I know that I have sinned.
So we conclude our conversation with Ted Onulak. Ted's music is available on most popular music platforms. The band's webpage can be found at exit10band.com. But here's a special message from Ted before we go.
You know, there are so many good causes, but you know, I'm a Ukrainian American.
Right.
You know, people are...
Do you have a particular place for people to donate?
Yeah, you can get on Facebook. It's called United Help Ukraine.
Okay.
And they do a lot of, they do a little bit of everything. A lot of it is, you know, logistical and support and food and stuff like that, you know. They're not really like buying MX missiles and things, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
taking care of
people, you know, so that's all right. I mean, me personally, I have Ukrainian friends that are traveling there, so from my own money, I bought some bulletproof vests.
Wow.
And I said, well, you know,
take these with you.
Yeah, I was like, you know, like they're like $500 a pop. You know, it's not like you can go to like Kmart, as far as I know, and buy bulletproof vests. You know, so it's like, as we say in Ukrainian, it's like na chornому. It's like on the black, like it's underground. You know, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who can fly him to Poland, who can drive him in a truck to fucking Donbass. You know, like that's how it goes. You know. But I've worked very hard. I did a benefit at Madams for Ukraine for Bill, and I think I raised a good deal of money from like personal friends with deep pockets.
That's awesome.
And, you know, well into the six figures.
Well, we'll certainly put that on the front. Well, thanks for listening. As always, you can subscribe to this podcast or stream or purchase my published music on your favorite podcast app or music source. Spotify, Pandora, Apple, or Amazon. We're going to close out today's session with something a little different. We're going to let Ted close it out with a little bit of his own musical philosophy.
I entered a poetry contest once. It was like, write a sonnet on music.
Yeah.
And like it was online, and they kind of like, as the people put their poems online, and they were like voted on like by like a jury, like we all did, we could vote on each other's things. And all these sonnets I was reading were like, you could tell like the ones that were like not written by musicians.
Yeah.
It was always like, oh, ethereal, it comes from the clouds, and the mystic of it, and the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and you know, and I was going, and I remembered, I wrote this like thing of like, who picked up the stone and the stick, who blew the hollow bone, you know, like primitive music making, like that. And I think my last line, because you know the sonnet finishes in a couplet, you know, like. So I think my last line was, no Prometheus did us music bring. It was man who taught the gods to sing.